So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Without further from me, I'd like to officially get this call started off by turning it right over to your Congressman, Ralph Norman. Sir, please take it away.
Thank you, Taylor. Good evening. This is Ralph Norman. I'm proud to represent you in the 5th District in South Carolina, and I'm honored to have so many of you join me. We typically call out around 45,000 people and have had great attendance by the phone in the past. I try to do this at the beginning of every session and then middle of the year and then the end. The reason I do this is you can cover and inform people far more than I can by trying to get around the district, which I do a lot anyway, but you can't see that many people. To stay up on my work, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and just search for Rep. Ralph Norman. And my website to sign up for email updates, which I encourage you to do because there's some interesting things going on now. But my email is norman.house.gov. I will cover just a few issues that I'm dealing with, and then I really enjoy answering your questions, and we'll open it up as soon as I give a rundown of what I've been doing. For those of you who don't know, I'm on the Budget Committee, the Rules Committee, and the Financial Services Committee. What has taken the majority of the time since January 20th when President Trump was sworn in was the budget. I know you will hear of this thing called reconciliation, which it's rare that you have all three branches, the House, the Senate, and the executive branch. You can come up with a resolution from the House and Senate, and it only requires in the Senate a 50+1. And with J.D. Vance in, he gives us you could lose two or three members and still get win the particular issue that you're talking about. Now, we're in a fork in the road, folks, with reconciliation, the fact that we can do this. And we haven't been able to come up with anything up until this past Sunday when the Freedom Caucus, which is a group of us, a group of conservatives, we put up a emergency border control resolution which will allow Congress to start advancing a two-step reconciliation process. And it's what we're doing is getting President Trump's agenda out in print, which his top agenda now is deportation, which is a top priority for the president. You've seen it going on live TV where Tom Homan is getting the criminals out of the country. And we're dealing with trying to rebuild our military, which has taken a real hit the past 4 years. They're building things that are not even being used now for the military, and we're unprepared is the bottom line on it. Now, what we've done is ask for we're going to do that with $200 billion in new spending, which is divided $100 for the deportation, which Mr. Holman needs, and then another $100 get the military revamped and reprioritized. Now, to do that, we cut $486 billion, and I get asked a lot where the cut's coming from because you're going to hear with the news media and others that we're, pushing granny over the cliff or cutting children from having food. Let me tell you where those $486 billion came from in our bill. $246 billion for student loan bailouts, which I'm sure you've heard about. $105 billion for work requirements on welfare programs. During Obama and Biden, they just extended the welfare programs where able-bodied men are taking advantage of our system. $100 billion that we've omitted for the electric vehicle mandates. I think it's $7,200 or $7,500 per electric vehicle. That's not for government to decide. If you want an electric car, you can buy one. If you want a gas-powered car, you buy that. $24.5 billion on a tax remittance plan on illegals that are here and illegally, and we're getting them out, and they need to pay a penalty if they don't. $10 billion is what that brings that amount to, and the total deficit reduction when you subtract the $200 billion from the $486 is a $286 billion net deficit reduction. Along with that, we've increased the debt ceiling so that President Trump won't be under having to negotiate with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. And that's one of the big things that hopefully we're going to have this Thursday. We'll have an agreement on, and we're asking for a bottom line minimum reduction in the deficit of $2 trillion. We're at odds a little bit with leadership that wants to do less with that. But folks, we've got a math problem. $37 trillion in counting. We cannot put the financial welfare of this country, at where we're headed, which is a financial cliff. Any advisor will tell you that. Our bond ratings have been rated down our debt has been down for the last 3 years, and this will be the first step into getting it back in line. Now, what has President Trump done? There's been a lot of talk about Elon Musk, and this comes about because of the executive orders that President Trump has signed, which he's had 50, and which is the most in the first 100 days of any president for the past 40 years. Now, what have those executive orders been? You've heard of the USAID program, that USAID, which is the program that you've heard a lot of talk about. The total that has been found of money that has been spent that without our knowledge is astronomical. Now, what's been identified by Mr. Musk, and he did this by being able to go into the algorithms and follow the money, which we've just never been able to do this. I get a lot of questions on why didn't you in Congress find out about it? Well, you couldn't get to it. These agencies have been covering it up and made it so difficult. Now, what did we find? Well, $20 million for a new Sesame Street show in Iraq, $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala, $6 million to transform digital spaces to reflect feminist Democrat principles, $16.8 million, and get this, for a separate inclusion group, and I don't know what inclusion means, but a separate inclusion group in Vietnam, $16.8 million. $5 million in Eco Health Alliance, which is one of the non-governmental agencies that funded the Wuhan lab. $20 million for a group related to a key player in the Russiagate impeachment hoax. The list goes on, but suffice it to say the total that we found so far is you might as well say $155 billion of your tax money. And I was on a program today, and a man was saying that a question came to me that he just doesn't have the right to go in there and look at this. Well, the problem, what he doesn't, the questioner didn't understand, it's your money. It's not government's money. And we've been with Elon, our group has been with Elon Musk a good bit, and what he's doing so effectively is letting you, the people, know. And if you agree with this type spending, that's one thing. But to me, with the financial cliff this country's on, you can't and should not fund programs like this. The other program that the executive order that Trump has is a weaponization of the federal government. We've all heard previously where the Biden administration instructed the DOGE to talk about parental threats at school board meetings. That's not you don't criminalize the DOJ with that kind of action. And Trump put an end to that. Another executive order was defending women from gender ideology and extremism. Look, there's male and female. Men should not go in women's bathrooms nor play in their sports. He's protecting women's rights, and it returns to a biological definition of sex. One of the big things that I'm excited about is President Trump did an executive order and withdrew the United States from the World Health Organization, otherwise known as the WHO. The U.S. is currently the top donor to the WHO and contributed close to $1.3 billion from 2022 to 23. It's under the control of China, and it should have gone a long time ago. Another one was remaining Mexico policy, which requires those who are illegally coming to the United States to go back to Mexico. What I am excited about is he is fine. We've got a president who, one is you're seeing him on news conferences where he's taking any and all questions. He's having executive order, which, by the way, goes away. You can't. This isn't unless you codify it and put it into law. It'll be gone. Should when another president takes over after 4 years. These are some of the big things that I'm excited that he is doing. Hopefully, the budget will get worked out. We will have some definite cuts, and hopefully, we will be able to make changes. And the things I just mentioned to you should not, as far as cuts, should not be controversial, but only in Washington, D.C. They are. I'm excited about my term limits bill, which is I'm introducing it in the House. Ted Cruz is introducing it in the Senate. We've got it limits the House, the congressional term to 3 terms or 6 years, and senators for 2 terms or 12 years. It got defeated last year, and everybody talks about term limits, but when you put it up to vote, it's as always you hit some roadblocks. If we're able to get a 2/3 majority in both the House and the Senate, or you can do it by constitutional convention, which calls for a 2/3 vote of the state legislatures. But I'm excited about the year. I'm excited about the opportunities that we have, and I'm hoping that we can make some positive change, particularly on the financial path that hopefully we will be successful with. Okay, Taylor, I'd like to open it up for any and all questions. There's no question off limits, and we'll open it up for any questions.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks here and updating us and holding this forum. I do want to give a quick reminder that if you wanted to ask a question, you can press 0. Let's go ahead and get to our first question here. It's coming to us from Anthony in Rock Hill. He asked me to read his question. He wants to know, can you explain your term limits amendment?
Yeah, the basics of it are 3 terms in the House, 2 terms in the Senate. And if let's say this passes, and I hope it will, I think at some point it's an 87% approval rating from the general public. Once it gets approved, once it gets becomes part of the Constitution, which you have to have 3/4 of states on board, which would be 38 or 50 states, it'll go into effect. And let's just say in my case, I think this is my 8th year. If it goes into effect, let's just say next year, then any member, the 3 additional terms of 6 years would be added on to the existing term. So it doesn't prohibit anybody that is now elected for that to go along with what's on there, that the term you have. And it's just Congress should not be a place where you go and retire, but unfortunately that's what it's turned out as.
Well, thank you so much for that question, Anthony. Let's go ahead and take another question here from another neighbor with us in Kershaw County. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. Looks like we have Ramagtam on the line with us. Again, Kershaw County, you are live. Please go ahead. Looks like you're asking about the labor shortage with deportation. Go ahead, you're live.
Yes, Congressman. I was reading the newspapers. They are worried. The economists are worried about the labor shortage after all these deportations happening. So is there any plan of the government that how they are going to handle especially the farming season right there at the corner in Georgia and South Carolina?
That's a good question. And let me tell you up to date what this administration has done. They have deported 4,000, roughly 800 undocumented migrants, mainly focusing on the gangs. Bear in mind, we've got a long way to go because we've got over 15 million people illegally in America. They have 11,000 known terrorists in the country that are not getting a job or won't take a job from Americans. I'm fully aware of the shortage of our farmers, particularly the peach crop. I support the H-2A workers to support farmers and the H-2Bs to support the seasonal workers in the tourism industry. But and it's going to take probably 2 to 3 years to be able to get those that are doing harm to others out of the country. And we will find a way. President Trump is a businessman. He understands the need for workers to particularly with our farmers, to make sure the crops are brought in, and we have the people to do it. There's certain jobs Americans just won't do. But anyway, I think that'll be handled. But he's making a focus now to get them out of the country as quick as he can.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's go on to our next question here if we can. Looks like we have Richard up next with us in York. Richard, welcome to the call. You're live with your congressman. Go ahead.
What is the government going to do about interest rates on home loans?
Interest rates and, was it car loans, you say?
And I think home loans, yep.
Oh, home loans. Well, interest rates have jumped up, particularly the last 2 to 3 years. Inflation has jumped up. The prices have increased over 20% since I know in 2020 when the Biden administration took over. The only way we're going to get inflation under control is one word: we got to cut spending. You can say a lot of other things, getting the gas, being able to drill here at home, not buying it from foreign countries. Everything that is brought to the store is brought with trucks powered by gas. Very few are powered by batteries. So inflation will get down once we have the gas prices being mined here in the country, and hopefully we can, inflation is the key to it, and I'm not sure that it's going to take a while with that. Interest rates have been ticking down, then up. It affects my industry, which is the home building industry, and so goes housing, so goes the economy. The feds have kept the rates low, have kept them lower, but if you relate it back to when President Trump took office, they were 2 and 3%, particularly for home prices. The other thing with homes, we've got to get the prices down. I don't know what an affordable house is now because everything has gone up. A lot of the factories have shut down. A lot of due to environmental situations that the Biden administration put on people, it just got to be was unprofitable, and it raised lumber prices. It raised all prices as it went in, as it would take to build a house. But I think you'll see rates stabilize, and I think in the next it's going to take 24 months, you'll see prices begin to come down.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. And before we do get to our next question here from Tom, we want to run a quick survey question. So everyone listening in, go ahead and get your phone keypads out. You'll be able to vote here by selecting the number on your keypad that best describes your answer. And I will read through the options twice. So your congressman wants to know, what is your top priority for him to focus on this year? So pressing 1 here if it's the border. Press 2 for spending and inflation. Press 3 for energy. Press 4 for national security, or press 5 for drain the swamp. So again, what is your top priority for Congressman Norman to focus on this year? Pressing 1 if it's the border. Press 2 for spending and inflation. Press 3 for energy. 4 for national security, or press 5 if it's to drain the swamp. So again, thank you so much. Really appreciate everyone's feedback in this poll question. Let's go ahead and get to Tom's question next. He's with us in Oconee. Tom, thank you so much for waiting. You're live now. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Norman. I would like to know why the Republicans don't go out like once a week and explain what they're doing, to the media, and explain what they're doing and how we're trying to save money.
Well, that's a good question. They should be doing, I mean, we all should be doing as much as we can. Saving money is kind of an anomaly up here because getting these minimum cuts, I would argue, has just been, you have to fight tooth and nail. The media, I mean, I think most people realize is slanted in one direction. We get out as much information as we can, or at least my office does, to let people know where we are. We do it through social media. We do it through articles on that I post and Facebook and whatnot. But we try to get as much stuff out to the public, and we've got an active staff that when you call in with a particular problem or have an issue that you have that you need solved, we try to get right to it. And I've got a staff in Rock Hill and, of course, here in Washington, D.C.
All right, let's get to our next question here. Lots more to get to. I see we have Lewis up next in Lancaster, looking to ask where you stand on voting on Trump's nominees and lots more to that. So, Lewis, go ahead with your question.
Thank you, Congressman, for taking our call. I think what you're doing right now is important in getting the information out to your constituents. My question is really in three areas, and hopefully you'll just allow me some flexibility in getting to them. Number one, what's your stance on getting the rest of President Trump's nominees pushed through and not having any pushbacks? I understand, at least from reading, that you were opposed to the defense secretary being appointed. I was somewhat disappointed, but glad to see that you changed your mind about that. Secondly, as far as student loans, I paid my student loans off. I think what maybe we should be looking at as an alternative is to addressing that issue in a sense, well, how about you serving some military time for that loan? You want that loan forgiven, and we all agree that, you know what, cost of education is skyrocketed when I went to school. But if you want that loan paid off, you got to give us the time and serve your country 2 to 4 years for it. And the third thing, I think what DOGE is doing now is wonderful. Is there any suggestions that perhaps maybe legislation could be brought up that we can impose this as something either to an amendment to the Constitution or as an executive order allowing the president to hire people who are volunteering like Elon is and going through our budget and making sure that our monies are being used efficiently? Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Let me take them in the order that you gave them. Trump nominees, then student loans, and then the DOGE making it permanent. Trump nominees have been fantastic. Now, I don't know where you got that I opposed Pete Hegseth for defense secretary. I have not opposed anybody that he's recommended. In fact, I know most of them. Pete Hegseth, I know. Kash Patel, Kristi Noem, I serve with. Where they're being stonewalled is in the Senate. It's taken far too long. So I'm for every one of who President Trump has put up. They're outstanding people. Tulsi Gabbard, Robert Kennedy, all of them. They're experts in their field, so I support them. They've been filibustered by the Democrats in the Senate, and it's unfortunate because they need to go to work. The student loans, the federal government, we don't have the financial leverage to pay for student loans. So what Biden did was give money away for students to go to school. I mean, that's just wrong. What about that person who doesn't go to college and is running a business? Serving in the military, we've got since the president took over, since Trump came into office, it's up 42%. It had dwindled to nothing, and it's a service. But we got to get out of the loan business, or if we do, put some strings on it. But what Biden did was basically bankrupt this country by giving loans that people don't have to pay back. The DOGE is you're going to see a steady diet of steady investigation, and that's what this is. And this first USAID, that's just the first agency that found $154 billion. And to give my listeners just a sample what that means, there's 1,000, if $1 million was in one bill, there's $1,000 million in a billion. Just think you could give $1 million to, if you're going to give the money away, you give it to make millionaires out of citizens who have paid taxes and work their way up. But you've got President Trump is constitutionally bound to do this, and is having an accounting of where the money's going. So can it be codified? It's already in the Constitution. It gives him the power to do it. Now, not everybody has access to a Elon Musk who's brilliant. Not everybody has got the courage that Donald Trump has to do this. But it was simply up until Elon Musk came on the scene, who's given his time, is not charging anything, but he's able to get, if you cash a check, and if the government cashes a check or sends a check out, he can track it. Don't ask me how he's doing it, because I don't have a clue, but the reason he's done as well as he has as a billionaire is he's brilliant in this field. The Department of Education is next, and the Defense Department is next. It's failed an audit, I think, for 7 years. Now, what it's doing is showing the American people where your money's going. And the hardest thing to convince politicians up here, it's not their money, it's your money. And to spend it like is being identified is criminal. So, it's already if you want to say codified, because it's per the Constitution, but it takes a president with the willpower to do it, and it takes a man like Elon Musk to pull it off. He's getting a lot of criticism. There's going to be demonstrations and other things, but bring it on. I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of money that hard-earned Americans have paid their taxes, started businesses, and have it spent like this. Nah, it's got to end, and it couldn't come at a better time.
Agreed. Thank you so much, sir. And yeah, great questions, Louis. Thank you so much. I do want to take a minute to remind folks that haven't done so already to press 7. You want to provide an operator with your email address to receive updates moving forward from the Congressman's office. You can do that now. Again, that's pressing 7. This is one of the best ways to stay current, and I do see your neighbors are currently taking advantage of this option. So again, go ahead, press 7 right now to sign up for the Reps e-newsletter. You're not going to want to miss out there. But let's go ahead and get to another question here, sir. Looks like we have Ray up next in Rock Hill. Ray, what's on your mind? You're live with us.
Yes, this is Ray. I live in Rock Hill, and I want to thank you for attending the Miracle Park expansion recently. But my question is the Trump tax cuts that went into effect 4 or 5 years ago, are in your current discussions, are those being included, and will they be permanent?
Yeah, Ray, great question. Yeah, they expire in 2025. The beginning of 2025. What we're doing, it will be included in probably the second reconciliation package. We're trying to make them permanent. We cannot let these expire, and hopefully we can get them on a 10-year permanent basis. And these tax cuts, you'll hear the left saying it's for the rich and it's benefiting people. No, it benefits Americans. It benefits, the businessman who has the rapid write-off on equipment that he buys. It has, the provisions that is aiding every business in this country will be extended, and hopefully we won't have too many drop-offs in the exact provisions. In fact, I post on my website the major ones that affect each one of South Carolinians and Americans. If they expire, everybody's tax bill, the average bill will increase by right at $2,200. And we can't let that happen. But to answer your question, yes, it'll be extended, and we're trying to make it permanent for either 5 or 10 years.
Fantastic. Let's take another question here if we can. Up next, Ronnie in, looks like north. Ronnie, you are live with us. Please go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ralph, for taking this message, and I appreciate you helping me and my twin brother when you were in the state with a problem with the DOT when y'all were having a cabinet hearing. Mr. Ralph, the SCD of the state reported a $1.8 billion, and Donnie and I handed the OIG the information last summer of 24, where the South Carolina DOT embezzled $528,000 more on a project they paid us. It was a 100% reimbursement. And there's some legislators in the state that have, General Assembly members that have said that this money is $1.8 billion that the governor is now saying does not exist, but his auditors say it does, that it's from the Federal Highway Administration. And my question was, and I think you've already answered it earlier when you talked about these next agencies that's going to be coming up for investigation, that Elon Musk is going to kind of investigate, being the schools and then Department of Education and then the military. But can the federal government do anything about these states that's embezzling money or getting money for ghost contracts, as I pointed out to the OIG and other people, falsifying documents? I mean, they forge our name to federal documents, and there's the state's not interested in doing anything about it. Is that something that the feds can get in and clean up and get this money back?
What's going to have to happen, and thanks for the question, and I do remember helping you at state level at the DOT hearing. What's going to have to happen is the same thing that's happened on the federal government. You're going to have an initiative by the legislature, mainly the governor, to hire somebody similar to a Elon Musk who can come in and evaluate each agency. Every state ought to be doing this. I mean, what's wrong with information on where your money's going? And on things like, I know I've met with some people that were having issues with contracts with the state, with the Department of Transportation on hauling cars off the road that, during the wrecks and not being given a fair shot at getting work for removing cars to repair businesses. But no, it's going, everybody, you do your business and all your listeners with your family's budgets, you examine them, you look at them, you know where your money's going. And we need to do the same at the level. No, I don't think it's a federal issue. I think it's a state issue. And because you're closest to what's going on. And there are other things that can be done that would make a difference. But there are people out there now. What Elon Musk has done is show the American people that government can be accountable, and we can find out where every dollar is. And I thought it was $1 billion that was lost in South Carolina, but I don't care if it's $50. You account for your money, but if you're losing $1 billion or don't know where it is, you got to find it. But it's going to take somebody outside of politics. Politicians aren't going to do it; they can authorize it, but you're going to have people that, like Elon, that will come in and do it, not getting paid, no preconceived agenda, but call balls and strikes and call it like they see it. Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Ronnie. Let's get to another one here that was submitted by Kimberly in Fort Mill. She was asking, how are the president's tariffs going to affect the economy, especially inflation?
Well, what's happened recently, mainly as an example with Canada, he's put a 25% tariff on Canadian products and Mexican products. Put a 25% tariff on steel. What the president's doing is sending a message that we're not going to be taken advantage of. We're not letting other countries charge our products and put tariffs on American products. But he's putting tariffs on, and you notice he's what the genius of Donald Trump is. He knows how to negotiate. He's a business guy, and he'll say it, and then he'll pull them back if they meet certain requirements. I've had a lot of calls from lumber companies because we get a lot of Canadian lumber, and it's going to raise the price of lumber if it stays in effect. I'm not sure that it is. One thing this president understands is a growing economy is a good thing for Americans, and he understands tariffs. He understands tax policy. He's been there and done it. And politicians typically don't know how to do that. So I do think that it may hurt for a while, but the other thing he's doing is we want American companies to manufacture not in China, not in Mexico, not in Vietnam. We want them in America, and we want to make the tax policies attractive enough and get the regulations off. And that's the other thing this president's done. He is tearing regulations up that never should have been there in the first place, like banning gas stoves. How stupid, how idiotic that is. Mandating electric cars. It makes no sense. But the purpose of tariffs is to get he wants fair trade, and tariffs will equal the balance. Plus, it'll be an income producer for us. Good question.
Yes, great question. Let's take another one here from Kelly and Inman. Kelly, thank you so much. You are now live. Go ahead with your question.
Thank you. While removing the debt ceiling and wanting to put in place the president's existing tax cuts at a cost of $2.1 trillion a year adding to the deficit, and we were explained at the time that, of course, the tax cuts would pay for themselves, which they never do, and wanting to expand on these tax cuts as well, which a lot of it was corporate taxes. Where's that money going to come from? If we're going to talk about cutting our debt and cutting our deficit, but at the same time causing a over $2.1 trillion deficit at the same time, you can't recover that from the domestic and the non-expendable money. So where is it going to come from?
Great question. When you have a tax cut, it's got a cost associated with it, and you've got to pay for it. And in the budget in the resolution that we had, we did pay for it. And I went down the list of the things that we were paying for it. And I think the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, scored depending on what we end up on tax cuts, at around $300 billion over 10 years. That was the cost. It never has been as high as they anticipated. But if you combine hardline cuts like I named, and if you expect a growth rate in the GDP of 2.1, 2.3%, where you have a growing economy instead of a shrinking economy, we can get out of the financial bind that we're in. But you're exactly right. Cuts are the only way you're going to do it. Now, tax cuts incentivize businesses, and you build a thriving economy based on that. But it's going to take a combination of spending cuts, growth in the economy, and the willingness to prioritize and take things where we have spent money in the past off the table.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Kelly. Great question there. And looks like another one here, sir, is coming to us from Judith in Union, who's asking, what is your favorite thing about being a member of Congress?
Favorite thing? Well, we help. The constituent service is great to me. I mean, I enjoy it. Union, by the way, Union's got a lot of great things coming. I know some things that's going to really help thrive everybody in Union. But no, I enjoy the constituent service. That person that has had a problem with a DD-214 or can't get a passport or has an issue like some people have raised tonight, we go to work, and we got great people, and we've got a great staff that really, we return calls, and we really will dig in. If you got an IRS problem, we'll dig into it and try to find it. Now, not to say we can solve every problem, but we're going to give it a try. And we got some great young people coming up that I enjoy, interacting with, and they see how we do things in Congress, and it's a service. And it's like so many people, and I'm not the only one that feels this way about constituent service, but we take it seriously. And I enjoy getting rid of bad regulations. I enjoy, just getting involved in the, everyday business of government, and in my mind, you shrink government and give it back to the people. And I enjoy raising those issues. It's not always popular issues, but they're it's issues that I like to tackle. So all of those things make it a great experience for all of us that are in the political arena.
Amazing, yes, and thank you so much, sir. Now, we are officially out of time, and before I do hand it back over to you for some final remarks, let me just say that if your question was not answered, we do encourage you to leave us a voicemail message once this call ends. Leave us your name, your best contact information so that we have a fighting chance of reaching back out to you. Now, feel free to also visit the rep's website. That's norman.house.gov. We did have a lot of participation for registering for the e-newsletter. If we didn't get to you tonight, it's so easy. You can sign up right on his homepage. Again, that's norman.house.gov. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Congressman, would you please close us out with any final remarks?
Sure. I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join this call. I enjoy it. If we can ever be of help with any issue, VA, IRS, Social Security, passports, you name it, give us a call. Our number in Rock Hill is 803-327-1114. And you can follow me at norman.house.gov. And I just appreciate everybody taking the time to do this, and I learn as much, hopefully, as those on the call do. So look forward to seeing you in the district, and you can follow me on Facebook, X, and Instagram. God bless you.